Welcome back to another episode. Today, we'll be taking on arguably the most pressing financial question in most young Americans' lives, which is it actually possible to buy a house in today's market in 2026? Too many young people feel like they completely missed the boat. We hear stories about how ridiculously cheap homes were 10 or 20 years ago, and then we look online and see those same properties are now selling for 5 to 10 times what they sold for before. And that doesn't even account for soaring property taxes, insurance, HOAs, utilities, and maintenance costs, which have all jumped up significantly too, no thanks to inflation. But homeownership is, for so many of us, the very cornerstone of our family's finances. It's the asset that gives us stability and allows us to stop renting and paying someone else's mortgage. It's the asset that we can eventually pay off and own outright, free and clear, enabling retirement, and then one day we could pass it down to our children. Owning a home is 100% part of the American dream and is not only the largest purchase most Americans make, it's also our largest concentration of family net worth. So, the question of whether we, as the next generation of Americans, can afford to buy a home is actually more broadly a question of we, as the next generation of Americans, can even participate in the American dream, or if that boat has simply sailed, perhaps to some other new world like America once was. So let's dive into the numbers and make sure you stick around to the very end where I'm going to break down exactly how much you need to earn and spend each month to be able to afford your first home this year. According to Redfin, as of November 2025, the median nationwide home price was $433,214. To some of you who live in higher cost of living markets in cities like Hawaii or California, you'll see that number and think it sounds absolutely ridiculous. However, Census.gov reports the average home price nationwide back in the year 2000 was just $119,600. So median prices have nearly quadrupled during the past 26 years. This price multiplier could also be applied to high cost markets where a home that sold for 400 grand back in 2000 would now likely sell for 1.5 million or more. And it's not just the price tag of these homes that makes them unaffordable to so many Americans. Look at property taxes, HOA dues, utilities. Look at home insurance, which includes hurricane, fire, and flood. An article by WalletHub claims insurance premiums alone were up 60% since 2000, but this likely doesn't factor in the massive hikes in insurance costs in places affected by recent natural disasters like California, Hawaii, and Florida. Higher interest rates aren't helping either, though thankfully they've come down a bit from their recent highs back in 2024 and early 2025. So, with all this laid out, let's look at how much you'd have to make to be able to afford that $433,000 home in today's America. As a first-time homebuyer with a credit score of at least 700, you'd be able to get into your first home for as little as 3% down. On the average home, 3% down would be about $13,000. On top of this, buyers typically pay about $10,000 in closing costs, which covers things like the appraisal, title insurance, the first year of home insurance, interest for the first month of your mortgage, etc. That means the total upfront investment for a first-time homebuyer could be as low as $23,000, or even lower if the seller agrees to cover some or all of your closing costs, or if you qualify for down payment assistance, but that's a topic for another video. With less than 20% down, most buyers, aside from veterans, will be required to pay PMI. Assuming PMI of $175 per month, here's how the mortgage would play out. A purely hypothetical estimated monthly mortgage payment of $27.25 per month, plus PMI, plus property taxes and insurance, I'm estimating at $300, equals $3,200 per month, an all-in monthly payment for your home. Now, in order to qualify for a mortgage, however, a lender won't just look at the house payment, they'll also analyze your other monthly debts. Well, not all of them, I mean. Things like your 17 streaming subscriptions, shameful midnight cookie orders on Grubhub, your fifth Chipotle of the week, etc., are not counted. Groceries, gas, restaurants, travel aren't included either. But monthly liabilities like auto loans, credit card payments, and student debt, you bet your bottom dollar those are included. According to a report released this past Christmas by CarScoops, the average American family has a car payment of $532 per month. Additionally, per U.S. News and World Report, the average recent grad has about $30,000 in student loan debts, which, when paid on the standard 10-year plan, would give them a monthly student loan payment of $300. Finally, LendingTree published a study in Q1 of last year showing the average American's credit card payments were $181 per month. So, we now have a comprehensive look at the monthly payments and liabilities of the average American family. $3,200 for housing, $532 for car, $300 for student loan payments, and $181 in credit card payments. That brings the average American's total monthly payments to $42.13 per month. Now, let's turn all these raw ingredients into a pie, shall we? To make numbers easy, a lender will want you to have a minimum of twice the monthly income as monthly liabilities to make them feel comfortable lending you the mortgage funds to buy your home. With $42.13 per month in liabilities, that means you'd need to make a minimum of $8,426 per month to qualify. Wait, did you say $8,426 per month? That's over $100,000 per year, $101,112 to be exact. So you're telling me to be able to afford the average American home, I need to be making six figures? Yup, that's what I'm telling you. Well, that's fine, right? With all the inflation and price appreciation we've seen in the U.S. over the past 25 years, guarantee the average American family brings in $100,000 worth of bacon each year. Nope. 2025 numbers are still coming in, but as of 2024, the median household income in the U.S. was $83,730 per the Motley Fool. That works out to $6,977 per month. So with that income, the average American won't be able to buy the average American home. But how could we change that? Well, aside from selling feet pics or digging through your mom's basement for a box you think might have held Pokemon cards at one point, one much more likely way you could get there would be to lower your liabilities. Instead of a $532 monthly car payment, you could sell that overpriced hunk of depreciating junk and buy a basic, reliable daily driver with some of the cash proceeds, while taking out a small new auto loan of no more than $150 per month. Instead of borrowing $30,000 in student loans, you could apply for grants and go to community college for the first 2 years before transferring to a larger college or university to finish your bachelor's. In fact, I recently spoke with a friend who completed the majority of her college coursework through study.com for $250 per month, and then transferred to a university for the final semester of her bachelor's degree. Whatever you do, just make sure your student loan payments will be no more than $100 per month after graduation. Regarding credit card payoffs, you could limit non-essential spending and pay off your credit cards in full each month so you're not paying the ridiculous APRs credit card companies saddle Americans with. However, if you do have a balance on your credit card like most Americans do, try applying for a 0% APR balance transfer card where the credit card company literally charges 0% interest for the first year, and use that time to rapidly pay down the balance until there's nothing left. Now, here's your new financial picture. Housing payment, $3,200. Auto loan, $150. Student loan, $100. Credit cards, $0. Total payments, $3,450 per month. With that financial picture, you would need twice that, or $6,900 per month in income to qualify for the average American home. Wait, didn't we just see the median American household brings in $6,977 per month? Eureka! We've done it, and with a little room to spare. So let's summarize. For the average American to buy the average American home today in 2026, all we have to do is keep our credit cards paid off, our one auto loan to $150 per month, and our student debt payments to $100 per month or less. If that's not you right now, That's okay. Rome was not built in a day, and neither was that home you're about to buy. But these are practical, achievable targets to shoot for, and now you know exactly what numbers you're aiming at. And that is how the American dream stays alive in 2026. Drop me a comment below. Do you think the American dream is still alive?